Conversations across time. 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 Conversations across time.
Hello, I'm Richard Watson, and welcome to the show. I am artist in residence at the African American Museum and also a member here at Philadelphia's Philly Cam family in Conversations Across Time. Today is a very exciting day. I'll be talking with my good friend Eartha Kitt, and we shall be covering some history and some present day experiences that I think you'll all enjoy. Welcome to the show, Miss Eartha Kitt.
Oh, thank you, Richard, for having me back today.
It was enjoyable yesterday, and I think today is even more exciting because, of course, we are in a time warp period today. We're going to talk about some things that I think will interest our audience quite a lot. Yesterday we talked about some things of the 60s and some of the politics of the world as they were being shaped. Yeah. And you played a part in that because I think your influence and some of the results of who you ultimately became in your world. You overcome a lot of adversity and tested by fire. Though you didn't need to be tested, you're a natural in that regard. But we talked about some of the things that we do to contribute to the development of young people. And in your experiences from the West Coast down to Washington, D.C., we'll back up a little bit so I think that we can bring us up to date and up to snuff today. Mm-hmm. Today is a very important day, as you know, and we'll talk about that as we go along. But in working with young people, just back up a little bit, and because I want to establish some groundwork on terms of how we want to go forward with that.
Well, today is a very important day for the American people. Yesterday we talked a little bit about having a female president for the first time, and I think for me, it's very exciting. I really don't know what the turnout is going to be. They're saying that they need more young people to go out and vote, they call it now millennials. In my day, we didn't have that term. We just said the young folks. And so today is just going to be a beautiful experience to have the young people come together and really bring a woman in. I think she's going to. What do you think? I think that she's going to win.
I think she's the best candidate considering what we have to work with. Throughout the generations that I've been exposed to the political landscape in the United States, beginning with, I guess, my earliest attitude about politics as a teenager going into my 20s when John F. Kennedy was president. Eisenhower wasn't really a part of my generation because I was out in there finding myself. But during the 60s when John F. Kennedy became president, the same kind of stir was about because we had people like Barry Goldwater and we had some other people who were like questionable in terms of what they considered equitable for all people in America. I mean, America has always been a kind of diverse society where black and white, it was really a black and white divided country since the Civil War and before.
And it's interesting that you say that because when we think of diversity and we think of minorities, we're always looking black or white. However, this country was built with more than blacks and whites. We have immigrants here as well. And I think that this particular election is going to be very important for the class of immigrants in America. Because Donald Trump, he's made many comments that I refuse to even give highlight to, but they were disgusting comments that really marginalized and made these people feel like they were not a part of the American culture and the American people. And so I think that it's been very unfair for them, and lots of people are afraid for their futures in this country. And so we need to look at America as more than just black and white, but more as a rainbow of people who will be affected by this election.
But would you agree that Donald Trump has served a purpose in terms of exposing some of the dirt under the rug? Because you know
Absolutely. And the
we
bigotry
we
and
talk about the multicultural quilt, and we talk about the patchwork of American fabric and fiber. If we look at win or lose Donald Trump, even when Donald Trump loses, which we pray, I think that the residual effect of the kind of dust he's sort of swept up is going to take some time to settle, because people took a chance to expose themselves to say that we are part of the silent majority or minority, or whichever it proves to be, that there's still this attitude of us against you all, and you all are the same because you're not us. I think there's going to be a lot of cleanup work going on as a result of this election, because Mr. Trump, regardless of whether he wins or loses, opened a sore that needs to be open and catheterized, because it's there. It's not going to go away.
I think what Donald has done an excellent job of doing is definitely, shining a light on issues that have been happening for many generations in this country. I mean, slavery didn't end, after the Civil War. As you see, we have many people every day in captivity and enslaved in their own homes, in their own country. And so, let's not even talk about the prison systems and industrialism of that. So I think that Donald really brought to the surface the real attitudes of the real America, because obviously, who's running America? Who are the people at the top?
Well, Donald Trump is one of those people who is actually pulling the strings and making the victims of the perpetrators' crimes the fall guy. Because you talk about mass incarceration. Mass incarceration includes people of color. Although there are some other people in prison, but the whole directive with corporate America to be fueled by cheap labor and now free labor, and that whole idea of dedicated, intentional incarceration of black males and Latino males and anyone else.
And let's not forget the school to prison pipeline. It's almost as if they're educating our youth to go to prison. They're not preparing them for a future. So with this election, we want to give the power back to not only minorities, but also to young people to make changes in their community, to say, hey, we need to have less prisons, and more schools and more opportunities and more jobs.
See, we say that. Now, you and I can say that, and we have a sense of at least primary or secondary political awareness. And in a lot of ways, most adults who have lived in America more than 25 years have seen some deterioration in public programming and funding and opportunities that are equalized across the board. How do you think in today's world of distractions or amusements or things that occupy the excitation of the young people, how many platforms are out there that intrude upon a real awareness, a real form of education?
When I was coming up my time, I, myself, Marilyn Monroe, we were seen as sex pots, sex kittens. There wasn't a lot of different distractions in society overall. There were just these select women on television, and men fantasized about us. Now, they have this thing where they have the internet, and young people are being sucked in worldwide, internationally, with thousands and different things being thrown at them. And so now young people are battling their attention spans of this small, because there's so much that they could be doing rather than reading, rather than learning about what's going on in their communities. A lot of them probably don't even know what they can do to make changes, or know where they can go and who to write, who to say to, hey, we need to make this change, because it's bigger than just this presidency and this election. Young people must work with their local officials as well. They must vote for them as well. The senators, the governors, the local administration are the ones who make the real change. And so, sure, everyone can come out today and they can vote, but it's even more, how do we move them forward and take them away from the distractions of the world, which they can help, because I'm even distracted myself.
Yeah, and talking about distractions, there's a root cause for some of this to be swept under the rug. What's going on with the sexualization of women in this country as a mass product line of money, pornography, and the human sex trafficking and prostitution, all those things that are offered so-called in the dark have now sometimes reached a forefront of woman against man in the sense of white male, I'm going to say white male control, domination of the sexes across the world is being a part of the motivation of distraction that people are now being victimized on both sides. I mean, men are victimized by the fact that they are being corralled into a sense of insensitivity. Women are the victims. Young children are being misguided into professions that they see the lure of money, particularly young women. Absolutely. So what Donald Trump has divulged in terms of his sensitivity toward women, and you also have women who are saying that Donald Trump can do that to me if he wants to because of that lure, that money lure, that sense of power, that whole sense of world domination based on the ability to have money. Our young people are distracted by that. What do you think about being a pure artist who has talent, who has something to say through your art form, and a young person who may have unadulterated talent, who is misguided by the lure?
Richard, this has been going on for centuries. It is not only young people who are allured by money and power. Women from all classes, all backgrounds have always been allured by that, because I think the thing is, we're in a time of struggle. The economy is not doing so well, especially. A lot of times as women, we go to what we know and what we're used to and what society tells us that we should embrace. And a lot of times women are getting paid for their sexuality or paid to service men.
Or exploited.
And the exploitation is happening on television, through the media, and it's saying to us as women, and especially as black women, I feel that our stories are definitely muddled and they are not being told in an honest and a true form. Therefore, we have this media that's saying this is your worth, this is what you need to do to get this. And what if we could change those narratives? And I think it begins always in the media. And as a young person who is creative and would like to break free in a world like this, in a system like this where it feels that it's very difficult, my only thing to say is that you must keep on fighting through your art, through your craft, to show others that it won't be easy. Nothing in life worth having, first of all, is easy. It won't be easy, but it can be accomplished. But you have to keep making sure that your voice is projected and your story is being told in the most truthful and honest way it can be through your own narrative, and do not allow anyone. I never allowed anyone to tell my own story. I always told my story. Everyone knew where Eartha stood and where she came from. I said it from the beginning. I came from nothing, right?
That's right.
And so here we are today. And so that is the message that I want to tell the young people. I came from nothing. If you come from nothing, you can be something. But you have to tell your narrative and your own truths.
And you aspire to the greatest heights for your own personal achievement, and so that you can use that as a basis for truth is the way.
Absolutely.
Conversely, when we talk about the politics and the system that uses subliminal seduction, and that word seduction too, it has a meaning to it, because when you would use it as a hook, it's subliminal. It goes in underneath that certain sense of conscious awareness. And then when you say seduction, seduction always means, come here, I got something for you.
But seduction is sex.
Sex and seduction are almost synonymous in American culture.
Now
in Europe, and you travel the world, you see billboards and signs in Paris and other countries where the body is not regarded as a symbol of sex. It's a pure kind of sense of self-expression, and children see it every day. They don't go looking at these billboards and these advertisements, because the whole idea of humanity somewhat is what it is. So when you experience that, And in your travels in the past, and I'm sure you are still traveling. Are you still traveling around,
absolutely,
getting things
Richard.
coming up?
Richard, recently
Yeah.
I went to Africa, and everything that you said was absolutely true. I mean, in Africa, you have women sitting there with their bare bosoms out, feeding their children. No one stops to gawk. No one says, "Look at that, breasts, sex." I think the way America kind of over-sexualizes women and women's bodies, I think it's like you said, it's from a white male perspective, and I think it's on a plateau of saying this is only for pleasure. This woman, this person who can have a child, who has helped to build the country, who is making a way, making a name for herself, holding her family down, she really is only good for her sexuality, for her body.
So what would you tell our brothers about what a woman is about and what a woman should be and how they should relate to their queens and women or whomever they choose to be with in terms of regard? What would you say to them if you had an audience, a captive audience of young men or men of different ages and different persuasions? Is there anything?
I think for me, the biggest challenge has been for a man to allow me to really be a woman. And I think the message is to, first of all, accept that we are different. Men and women are made inherently different. However, women should be regarded with care because we are fragile. And a lot of things happen to us in society, in life, just being who we are and not really feeling like, okay, do we have a place? Can we be heard? Many times in the past, we were told women's place is to be at home and to not say anything. And for me, I would like for men to look at a woman for who she is. Really, speak to her soul. Look beyond her physicality. Look beyond what she has on. Listen to her. Listen to her heart. Speak to her heart. And understand that she is someone to be highly regarded with the utmost respect because we all came from a woman.
Our brother James Brown came out with a piece that was a double-edged sword. It's a man's world.
Ah, yes.
But it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl.
Anything.
And within that construct of that song being so dynamic when he came out with that song and listening to the lyrics, words are so important, there's power in words. The world would be nothing without women. And so that as the mothers of the world go, so go the children, and so goes the society.
It becomes wayward, absolutely.
And where we are now with the sexualization of women and the disregard and the misogyny in the music and in the culture, there has to be a turning point where the agendas change and where the partnership changes and the ratio of the man on one side and the woman being down here on a lower level. Do you get paid as much as Barbra Streisand or Celine Dion to do what you do?
I can tell you right now that I haven't seen those riches in my lifetime. I can say I don't believe that I get paid the same as those women. But, that guess that goes with the territory when you are the minority and not the majority, they say.
Which is changing. And you know how we're going to change that? Bam, bam, bam. The power to the people. So when we talk about where is our strength beyond our rhetoric, because, we have a gift of gab that we can all talk about what the program is, what the problem is. To suggest to our people and to everyone who wants to be affected with that voice that really cuts through all of the hoopla and all the BS that we hear coming over the ads, coming over the popularity contest. It's not a popularity contest, correct? The vote, the power of the vote. And back in the day, and we know back in the day meant for us, it was talking about making America what again?
He said make America great again.
Great again.
So,
Tell me about the greatness of America 50, 60, 70 years ago. How great was America for us?
I don't think it was great at all. Some would complain and say that it's even worse now than it was then, but I think that is not the case. I think that people today, minorities today, that they have more of a power, more of a say, and things cannot be done to them like they were done to us out in the open. I mean, discrimination was in your face, and you knew it, and you knew it was because you were black. Now, how about that?
And the power we have today has been well fought for and compromised, and so many people have given up their lives. And I have to keep going back to the 60s, the summer of 63, 64, 65, when the whole country was on fire. I mean, literally and figuratively, because
churches, buildings, schools.
People were being assassinated, shot down, and people were being mutilated. I would say not short of even lynching were still going on in certain parts of the world and certain parts of the country.
Oh, yes.
Andrew Goodman and James Chaney and Schwimmer, they lost their lives going door to door trying to get people to vote. And I listen to a lot of talk shows and I flip channels, and sometimes I'll hear a voice and I have to stay on there because it's the voice of tyranny that's coming from the opposite side of the fence about how despicable President Obama is, and how we've got to stop these immigrants coming to our country. And this is the opposition that today offers as a choice to our people of intelligence and even our people who don't know that much. What would you tell these people who think that somebody's taking their job, somebody's taking their opportunity to survive in America when they have all of the greatness right in front of them? Did you feel that when you were trying to break through, or was there anyone out there championing the cause of equality?
I never felt that someone was taking my role or my job or my place, because I've always kind of worked under the framework, what is for you is for you, and no one can take that. We all have our own destinies. We have our own fates, which is why my fate, from being dirt poor in the South to being world renowned, I never knew that I would even amass this type of accolades or accomplishments, as you will, in my life. So for me, I think that people need to stop looking outside of themselves and look within themselves to see what it is that they can bring, or to make something new again. You know, making America great again, that is not the slogan. That is not something that I even believe in. I believe in the fact that we need to take what we have and make a reform and make it make changes, make it brand new again. So in actuality, there are no immigrants that are coming to take these jobs. They're coming to make a way themselves. They're coming to start in the land of the greats and get that opportunity to take them to higher levels. And some of them are even taking what they've learned from these jobs and applying that in their own countries, in their own nations. So we need to look at those structures and take the resources of America, because there are resources for every single American person. And do Americans all utilize those resources? Do they want some of those jobs? They say they want those jobs, but a lot of the hardest jobs worked in our country are worked by immigrants.
I would say that we're all immigrants. You know
I
that.
would say
because,
that's, yeah.
Because then I think that the realization of who holds the power, who holds the most marbles.
Oh, yes.
You know, who's king of the hill. And there are designs at work that know this. And as long as they can distract people from the root cause, from the root cause of why he's on top and they're on the bottom, keeping them fighting in distraction and divide and conquer kinds of things, even down to the racial aspect of it. You have a lot of families that are now co-joined by different cultures, different races, and different kinds of influences for being who they are as individuals. How, in your own world, do you handle people who come at you and ask you about your choice of mate, your choice of someone who is not from the continent? How do you handle that?
Well, you know, Richard, I'm so glad you asked that question, because, you know, I went to bed with Harry. That is no secret. It's
as in Bella.
As in Belafonte.
Okay.
What other Harry would there be?
Okay.
Harry Winston, of course, because I love my jewels.
Oh yeah, the one who's running around England, the England Prince Harry.
Oh yes.
Oh, he's got a sister too. But go ahead, talk about you.
Well, Harry Belafonte and I, we've been to bed before, and he frankly told me I should not take him seriously. Why? Because he said, "What would a black woman do for him?" And at the time, you look shocked, but at the time, I could see where he could make that inference, because, of course, as black people, we had no power. We were not calling the shots. We were not signing the big checks. So obviously, as a black man in the industry that wanted to go to another plateau, he felt that he had to be with a white woman. Society,
power symbol.
Absolutely. And so for me, that made me feel very weak, very broken down. And then also in the industry at that time, many black men that I knew that were successful were dealing with white women. And I think it goes on today. We see that a lot in the industry. But we do have black men who have married black women. But mostly, when a black man has amassed a certain level of success, then who should be on his arm? Who is good enough then? Maybe the black woman that helped him start it may not be just as good because she's not the embodiment of this woman that would take him to higher levels. So from that point on, I said to myself, well, if he can do it, then so can I. And so, and women out there need to understand we have choices now. We have options. Times have changed. So if he can do it, so can I. So I went out there and I found the most amazing men. I've been everywhere. I mean, I've had almost every type of man under the sun.
And the moon.
And the moon. And so I learned so many things. And if I had closed myself off, then I would not have been able to learn about many different cultures.
That's beautiful. And being open to cultures, being open to realities and politics and choices. I think that if we were to summarize everything we talk about, everything we feel on a very honest level, that we as a people within a nation of distractions, the core agenda is to make choices that are going to be to your benefit en masse. If the choices are all somewhat simulated and somewhat coordinated, then it changes for everyone if they make the right choices.
Absolutely.
So you have my vote on your personal choices, and I think that collectively, if we go and exercise our rights that people have compromised themselves for, lost their lives for, we'll be a greater nation, and within that nation, hopefully, someday we can become a strong unity of people who say we are Americans. And we're going to always be black. We're going to stay black.
So I'm going to always stay black. And I'm going to always be proud to be an American, even though the things that have happened. Americans are strong people. And what we do, we go out there and we fight. And we fight not always with our hands, but through our votes. So that's what counts.
Vote. Go vote.
Go votes.
Conversations across time. 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 Conversations across time.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Touch here.
Your boy Charles Gregory in the building, man.
Look, a lot of people have been asking, how can we watch the show? Where can we find you? So I'm going to break it down for you, okay?
Put your W's up. We Talk Weekly.
We Talk Weekly TV on YouTube.
All day.
We Talk Weekly on the iFame channel, on the Roku box.
13 million nationwide. That's what we hit and holla at us,
Just
man.
go onto the box, go into the music section,
Yeah.
iFame TV. We're on the biggest music channel on Roku, Charles.
On Roku, look.
Okay, and then Comcast and Verizon in Philadelphia, of course. I mean, we're the fourth largest TV network in the nation.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We Talk Weekly. But you got to follow. Look, we on Instagram now. 60-second videos now. We here, man. We here.
60 seconds, and look, we telling you, you can find us. So make sure you follow us, tell your friends.
And tag a friend. Right now, tag a friend.
Yes, and we love you.